Hello everyone, welcome back to our Moneyball Series here with Barnsley Football Club. You haven't really missed too much, to be honest, from the last episode. Like, normally I do a load of transfers, that kind of stuff, but that's part of what this save's about. So all I've done is sacked a load of staff, that's what we've done, and that is as far as we got. So let's look at the tactic. This is what we're going to play. We're going to play 3-5-2. Now, for those of you that have been with the channel quite a long time, I played a similar 3-5-2 to this in my lead save ages and ages ago on the beta of FM22. It's going to be a similar tactic to that. So this 3-5-2 actually came about from a team that I was coaching in real life. So this is sort of based a little bit on real life and a little bit on adjusting it to the match engine, right? Mentality in possession, higher tempo, standard directness. Really, it's just about like playing the right pass, not really about playing long or short. Bit of width, yeah, mainly for the strikers and wing backs to stay quite wide. The striker that's ball side to pull wide if we need to play out. So it's not just direct, it's that if we're sort of pinned back with the wing backs defending in the back line, like you're in a 5, the whole idea is then the striker on the right side might pull out to the wing to be an option to play out wide. So you're not just there being a relentless counter-attacking team. But obviously, you don't really want that all the time, but that's just an option if you're getting pinned back. So that's pretty much in possession. Now, in transition, counter press, the only reason I have this is like if we go long and direct and the ball goes straight to the back line, it's to try and get the strikers to press immediately. That's the only real idea about them having that in the match engine. In real life, I probably wouldn't have had that with this sort of tactic. Defensively, high line, try and force them. Ideally, what you want here is these are like prototype, half centre-backs, half full-backs, and they play it into the side here. You've got players quick, strong, can physically dominate whoever they're against. And this is your organiser, your sweeper, somebody who's good as a middle centre-back. And you've got wing-backs here. One of them's like an orthodox full-back, and the other one's more like an orthodox winger that's playing, as a more attacking wing-back, as it were. Two sort of box-to-box midfielders running all over the place with the playmaker in the middle that can support the back 3, and then 2 strikers up front. So that's just how we're going to start. We're going to tweak it as we go anyway, but just so you know, that's the philosophy we're going to have, the playing philosophy and playing formation there. Right, players we've got. It's not great. So what we're going to do here then is the first thing we're going to look at is we're going to try and get a right wing back. This is the first time we're going to apply our Moneyball strategy. We're going to look at some stats, see what we can get as a right wing back. Now, it doesn't mean they have to be a right wing back in the game. If they are performing the right stats and we think we can fit them into being a right wing back, if they're a right wing or even a striker, and we think they can do the job, that's what we're going to be looking for. So I've already sort of done one here as a prototype just off of camera. So this is my wing back one I've looked at. This isn't done properly to the nth degree, but it's just something to give us at least something to look at. So as you can see here, for right wing back, this is for in particular, I'm starting off with the right winger because we need an attacking player, right? So what I'm looking at in the stats, personally here, I'm looking at, are they dribbling at players in the matches? Are they getting tackles? If they're going to be an attacking wing back and they're going to be a winger in the game, they're going to have low tackling. So they're going to be a bad tackler. They're probably going to give away 1 or 2 fouls in around the box. But at least if they're committing and they're making tackles, that's a good thing. That means they've got high aggression probably, and they probably have got the ability to defend. They just aren't good at it, which is what we want. That's the best that we can hope for, really, as a championship team. So I looked at this. There's not many players that have played too many matches. That's the problem. But you can see there's a standout player here, the old Dennis Rodriguez, with 17 dribbles, 10 starts, 10 sub appearances, 17 dribbles. I think it's per match, right? No, total dribbles made. Okay, so it's not quite as good as I thought. 17. Okay, that's not nowhere near as good as I thought. Is that total fouls? Tackles completed. Okay, tackles completed is pretty high. So he originally stood out to me because of his numbers across the board are pretty good. Pass completion isn't bad. Tackling is right per game, but it's not too much out of whack. It's hard to judge him against others there because they've all played 1 or 2 matches, right? So that's a really hard game to judge. That's a really hard stat to judge. Any of these are when they've only played 1 game because they could have just had a monster game against a bad opposition and had their stats inflated by that. But he looked pretty good statistically there, did Dennis? And you look at him there. And we can't see anything. So it's really, really difficult to know if he's any good. So the only way to do this, right, is we shortlist him and we just keep going on the list here. We're looking for people that have played more than a few matches here. So the next one is then this lad here. Now, can we get them both in the same list? We can there. So you see these 2 here. I'll highlight them for you so you can see it easier. So dribbles. The dribbling is monumentally different. Fouls, roughly the same games played, starts anyway, a few extra subs for Dennis Rodriguez. Tackles 1 isn't great. Goals there, assists, he's about the same. 2 players of the match for Garnier here. Tackles per game is roughly the same. Dribbles per game is far in Dennis's favour. So right now, if you said to me, Jack, you have to sign one of these 2 players to be wing back, I'm taking Dennis because he appears to dribble more and he seems more like a prototype midfielder and winger. Garnier could be a striker for all I know. Let's click on him. He's actually a wing back. Okay. And what will be good is eventually we'll be able to see a lot more stats as the seasons go. Now, we're seeing more players here that have played some more matches. So we've got, first of all, Leandro Maciel. This is actually really hard because you're so used to clicking on players and seeing what they've done. So, I don't know here, like, he's got attacking percentage, a dribble. So he's way down dribble. So to me, he's a non-starter because he must be a centre-back, playing right-back or something. Defensive midfielder, yeah, okay. So that's a no for me. He doesn't dribble at the players anywhere near often enough, so I'd never be interested in that in a million years. This is more like it from Juan Pintado, who is probably half a decent player. He's suspended for a few matches, so he puts his foot in, not much wages. So that looks like a risk I would take is Juan. Although he's on loan currently, so that wouldn't help, but in a short list anyway. Looking at Juan Ignacio Mendes, his tackling is good. His dribbling per 90 is awful. That tells me don't forget, it could be the tactics that they're playing in, right? It could be the formation and the position they're playing in that could be totally different. So he's like a central midfielder, obviously. That's why he's not dribbling. He's probably like in a playmaker role, something like that. Average rating is dog shit as well. Now, Tin, what's really interesting about Tin here is Tin has got a no score for heading percentage. That means he's not won a single header in his entire 12 matches. Now that's a concern. He's got a very good average rating though, and he's got decent amount of tackles. Well, I guess goals and assists. Pretty a forward, right? Pass percentage is dog shit, to be honest. His pass percentage is dog shit. Tackles isn't too bad. Shot percentage isn't too bad. He's got to be a striker, and he's not. Okay, but I guess we'll shortlist him for now. So you can see how much of a tiny process this is going to be. I'm not going to sit you through every single player, by the way. I'm just trying to give you a taster, at the very least at the start here, for what we're going to be looking at. And 2 players here. Dribbles per 90 is just not good enough. So that's why I mean at the start, I'm not too bothered about getting too many players first transfer window because there's not too many players that are actually available. So like Edwin Mosquera, and I look at that, that's interesting, isn't it? I don't know if you saw that, but he's played 11 starts, 2 times as a sub. He's got 3.07 dribbles per 90. That's quite high. It's one of the highest I've seen so far. So you see a lot of players that we've got. There's not too many we've actually got a chance to sign because we've actually got it on doubtful. Let's just go to right wing back then, just to sort of finish this off. So dribbles per 90 we're going to keep as the main thing we're looking at. Because we're looking at this first, and I'm going to move back from there. It's dribbles per 90, then appearances, what we're sort of looking at. I could move these around actually, I suppose. So we're sort of looking at, in this order, dribbles per game, and then appearances are the very next thing we look next to it. So let's make sure that's sorted correctly. Let's go on this. The first player we look at is this player. So this player's got 1.83 dribbles per game as a wing back, something like that. Could be a full back. Tackles per game is good. Tackle ratio is pretty good as well. And dribbles is very good. Total dribbles and fouls is extremely high, but I like that. So on the basis of that, he would definitely be, in fact, he's transfer listed as well. I'm going to go, he's not going to get a work permit. That's the problem with South American players. So let's not bother with that. But okay, so he would normally be like top of my list sort of thing. Obviously, long term, we want to be getting players from Britain and the British League, so we don't have to worry about the work permit stuff. But yeah, so you get the idea anyway of the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking at and the kind of things we're going to go through. And yeah, do let me know how much you want to see of this sort of stuff, because it's been quite interesting. I did want to start with like a Premier League club or a top division club because it's going to be more important to see these things. But also, the problem with that is we all know the players we would sign. If I played as like, I don't know, like Brentford or another team that do this sort of thing. If I was to play as Brentford, Benjamin Sesko, Adeyemi, it's easy, right? Because we already know the players we want. Whereas with Barnsley, it might take us a bit longer to get to that level, and we don't really know the players. It's going to be interesting though to see in England if there's any players that are standouts from the lower leagues. Maybe there's a player that's terrible in attributes, but is very good in the stats. So we'll have to have a look at them. In terms of staff, we're going to go. We want somebody British. Let's get somebody British in here. And let's have, right, this is what we'll do here. We'll go, third formation is 5-2 wing back. That is our actual one. Oh, it's employed, no, so we have an English coach, partially English, at least British is fine. 5-2 wing back, employed is no, and then let's go playing style. So I suppose be the best fit for what I've said so far with our philosophy. Look at David Dunn here. He actually looks quite good. I actually quite like David Dunn there. I'm going to take him on as assistant manager. He fits the bill for a lot of the stuff we were looking for. Let's give him that. So if he takes it, he does. Okay, so David Dunn comes in as our assistant. Now, we want some coaches, really. I don't really care too much about... We'll get some international flavour. Right, I've just gone through and offered out a load of contracts to staff. This is who it is. So they were all based on if they had our preferred formation, playing style, and all that kind of stuff, and then personality after that. So it was all based off of that. So hopefully they all sign because it gives us a nice international flavour to it as well. Got a lot of different nationalities in there, which would be good for knowledge to scout players and stuff. So or to at least see players in the list. The important thing about scouting, for us, is the fact that they appear in this list. If they don't appear in this list, it's hard for us to see. We can go through manually and look at stuff, but it's easiest for us if they just appear here. Easy place for us to be able to look. So that's important for us getting the knowledge of as much as possible in all these nations. I think that's pretty much going to do it for this episode. What we'll do now is I'll probably skip through quite a little bit to the start of the season, and we will come back for the first game of the season, obviously, see what staff we got, see what players we end up with if we do bring anybody in. It's unlikely because of the work permit situation. So what I'll probably do is then look to actually do what we've just showed. The strategy that I just showed of how we're going to try and get players, what I'll probably do is then use that about 2 games into the season when we've finally got a bit of stats on English leagues where we can actually go and buy players. That's probably what I'll do, is probably sell 1 or 2 players, build up some money, and then have us ready to go and do an episode where we go and buy players purely based on stats from England, because we know we can get those, right? So that's probably what we'll do, and we'll just try and hold on to the money until then. Hopefully that makes sense, everybody's okay with that, because right now we're not going to be able to get anybody without there being huge work permit problems, so I think we'll probably just leave it there, come back, do the first game, and then straight, maybe after even the first game, we'll look at some players, see who started off really well, and start trying to buy some players immediately. So I do want to get some players in. It's going to be really interesting. I don't think it shows friendly stats, which is a bit of a problem. We could look at some of the friendlies, in fact, and try and pick up some players, maybe even to loan. We definitely need a few players. I think just right wing back and a central midfielder and a pacey striker. If that's all we got, I would take that, because we've got enough of everything else to do okay, I think. Especially left wing back with Remy Vita. So yeah, that's the sort of plan going forwards. We'll get into more specific players. I could have sat there and gone through loads of players with you then. The problem is that we can't sign any of them, and we know we can't, so it's just really a waste of time. So I just wanted to show you roughly how it's going to look and how it's going to be approached, and then we'll definitely go and actually get some players in the next episode after we play our first game as well. Friendlies, assistant manager will take, not bothered about that. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all goes. Yeah, we know the tactic now. We know how we're going to try and use our strategy to get players, what sort of stats we're going to look at least for a wing back. Now, if anybody has any ideas at all on how to do this better, how to maybe scout players better, anything like that, please let me know, because yeah, I'm just hopefully going to try and utilize this game to the max for us to do a Moneyball system. And I'm really interested to see how long it's going to take us to get to like top of world football, and to be competing against all the other big teams with loads of money in the Premier League, and where they can just go and get anybody they want in the game, whereas we have to do things a certain way, which is exactly what Moneyball is all about. It's gonna take us, I don't know, even with ultra, good success, it would take you 8 years to probably get as much money and be as big of a club as some of the other clubs. So that's with winning Champions League and Premier League multiple times within those 8 years. So we'll see how things go. I'm excited about this. I'm really looking forward to it. It's almost like the tactics and the actual matches are almost like a byproduct. I'm not even really talking about how we're going to do, whether we get the playoffs. The aim is the playoffs, really, for me. And because I just think we're gonna struggle a little bit, especially at the start, with the lack of players that we want. But this team does suit a 3-5-2 pretty well, which is why I'm also happy to go to 3-5-2. They got enough players to cope, even if we sign nobody. Maybe they aren't very good at those roles, but they have players to play there. But that is going to do it. That is going to finish the episode. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.